Hello and welcome to the Q&A for today, the 29th of, whenever the hell it is, December, that's the one. So, as always, if you have a question, please leave it in the comments. I will add it to the list, and then we can get on to it. Unfortunately, the list is wearing a little bit thin at the minute, so I'm not too sure if we'll actually finish off everything on my list of questions today, but there is a decent chance that we're going to be very low. Also, be sure to check out yesterday's video. It's 41 minutes, it's a good bit longer than most of them, and it takes about 15 hours to make a video like that, well 10 to 15, and there's a bit more startup time. So, like, for those to be kind of feasible, they need to do pretty well, so if you do like it, then go over there, support the thing, and hopefully I'd like those to be a kind of bi-weekly, no not bi-weekly, bi-monthly kind of thing, so one every fortnight, which would be pretty good. Now, let's move on to the actual questions for today. So the first one is from Silas, and he asks, it's a bit of a long question, but essentially, what do I think about the Warlords of release date, especially taking into consideration Elder Scrolls Online coming out on April the 4th, 2014, and then WildStar releasing Q2 2014, which is essentially April to June. And then, do I think that Warlords should come out before that, after it, what I think about the beta and stuff like that? Well, first of all, let's talk about competition, right? I want both Elder Scrolls Online and WildStar to be great games, because then it forces Blizzard to actually be on their A game and make WoW better. Competition's great, it breeds innovation, and it's something that you should want. If, like, the people who just go around, maybe, I don't know, an Elder Scrolls video and start saying, OMG, such a pile of shite, blah blah blah, really, those people are just absolute idiots, and they don't know what they're talking about, because we want Elder Scrolls Online to be good. We want WildStar to be good. Blizzard need to feel a little bit threatened. It's all about competition. Competition's fantastic. So, yeah, I want everything to be good. Now, on to the actual question. Elder Scrolls is releasing on April the 4th, so I'm pretty sure it will come out before WildStar. From what I've played of Elder Scrolls, well, not what I've played, sorry, from what I've heard from beta testers, I mean IRL stuff, not over the internet, and one or two people over the internet, but honestly, I wouldn't trust a lot of people on the internet who talk about the beta because the chances are they're not in it, which is kind of hypocritical, because here I am, a person on the internet talking about it. But from actual experience of IRL people, like friends who are in the beta for that game, by friends, I mean one guy, actually. It's just not that fantastic. Apparently, it's really just kind of janky, and I know it is a beta, but it's coming out in April. They don't have a lot of time, and honestly, from what I've heard from people like, say, TotalBiscuit in his most recent Q&A, and a few other YouTubers who have been able to talk about just various things, even, well, I guess some of them have been talking about press events, which I suppose were not NDA'd. A lot of those guys were saying, look, the combat feels floaty, it doesn't feel that great, and it's basically just a bad Skyrim. Like a sort of a cheap version of Skyrim in a way. Of course, it's not cheap, it costs $60 plus $15 a month. Then as for WildStar, I think WildStar is going to be a really, really solid game. It's not going to kill WoW, because it really is appealing to the similar sort of person as WoW. And, well, they already have World of Warcraft. They already have the whole, like, giant raiding scene. They'll have, for example, things like Ashran to cover PvP a little bit better in Warlords. So, honestly, I don't think WildStar's major competition. I just think it's another MMO that perhaps, like Rift, will launch. It'll be relatively successful, and it will have a lot of people who really enjoy playing it, and I think that would be quite good. As for the main parts of his question, well, I think Warlords is going to come out after, at least definitely after Elder Scrolls. It might come out after WildStar, but that just depends, because WildStar is April through June. We don't exactly know when. Also, it's quite a competitive few months. You have Elder Scrolls, WildStar, and Warlords all coming out within 3 months, perhaps. And I'd say there's probably a chance Warlords could be the last one to come out. And I suppose the worry for that, with a lot of people, sorry if I'm blinking a lot, my eyes feel weird, the worry with that is that perhaps people will say, jump into Elder Scrolls or WildStar, they'll be paying the monthly subscription, and then because of that, they won't want to try out Warlords. That's one issue that comes with being at the end. Now, historically, Blizzard have always done something to mark the release of another game. They've released a content patch or had some big announcement. So I think what's going to happen is the beta will be out before Elder Scrolls Online or WildStar. I'd say that it'll be out a good bit before them both. And this means that the hype train for Warlords will be very strong. Of course, the hype train for Elder Scrolls and Wildstar will also be strong, but you have to remember that Blizzard are really trying to appeal to World of Warcraft fans with this expansion. I don't think they're necessarily trying to grab hundreds of millions of new people or anything ridiculous like that. They're appealing to the core WoW people, and if the core WoW people are all sort of caught up and happy with the hype train of Warlords, then I don't think there'll be a ginormous bleed over to Elder Scrolls and Wildstar, bar the people who are just going to try them out in addition to Warlords just because they think they'll be interesting. I know personally, I'll try them both out, I'll do videos on both of them, but the chance of it being my main game is kind of slim, I'd say. But yeah, it's a very interesting space for MMOs. Also, Silas says, and I'll just quote from his question here, that they kind of run the risk of people enjoying other games more and not giving Warlords of Draenor a try. While if they make Warlords come out too far after, then people get burnt out in the other two and then sort of come back to WoW in August, September, but then you risk the sub-bleed until then. Yeah, I think that actually this expansion needs to come out as quickly as possible because subscriber bleed with patch 5.4, I think it's going to be quite big. Because of LFR and because of Flex, a lot of people have already seen Siege of Orgrimmar, so it's not like there's this normal raiding scene, which will keep on going with the slower guilds kind of picking up maybe around month 6. That's not going to happen. Everyone has seen that content now. The Time of the Isles is seen by people. There is no real point of going there. For a lot of people, maybe they want to get their Shao mount or something like that, but in general, there's not much point in going back to the Time of the Isles. Which really means there is literally nothing unless you are a PvPer. I suppose the nice thing about PvP is that it doesn't really depend on the current content. Like sure, a new season breathes a lot of life into the scene, but what matters about PvP is competition with other players, and that doesn't depend as much on a patch cycle. So yeah, Warlords, I think it needs to come out in quarter 2. Well, quarter 1 would be ideal, but of course if the damn thing isn't finished by then we don't want it then. I'd say it'll come out quarter 2, maybe around June, and I'd say it'll pull off quite well, and a lot of people who maybe quit after Wrath, quit after Kata, they're going to come back because, at least in terms of the vibe this thing's giving off, Mists of Pandaria, a lot of people are still under the illusion that this is just Pandaland. Like, a lot of the people who quit after Cataclysm, they just think, oh, fucking pandas, this is stupid. And they never tried the expansion because of that. Warlords is going to appeal to them a little bit more. Especially with that free 90 which says, fuck the other expansions, you can come in and have a great time instantly. So, yeah, that's what I think about that whole situation. The next question is from Tyler Titian, who says, what happened to Illidan now that he doesn't have the Black Temple? And what happened to Illidan is that we killed him. Of course, he's partially demon, so he's probably floating around with the Twisted Nether somewhere. But at least lore-wise, for now, he is dead-ish. The next one is from MSG Phalanx, who says, what were your first thoughts and reactions when you saw the Warlords of Draenor trailer? Well, personally, I was very excited for it. I know it wasn't some crazy big trailer, but I thought thematically it was nice enough. I enjoyed seeing the land of old Draenor. I thought that looked really cool. I enjoyed seeing the Draenei sort of pop in, and overall I just thought it looked really cool. Also, it was nice to see some of the character models more animated. Then when they went over the features and we found out like the item squish, garrisons, new models, all those different things, I was just thinking, yeah, this is going to be a really solid expansion from what they're saying, and then everything that I heard after that at BlizzCon really backed that up. Okay, so on to the next question. This one is from Victor Hugland, who says, I have a question. What do you think about triple spec, and do you think there will ever be in World of Warcraft? Oh, that's a bit of a tough one. The thing about triple spec, right, is it does mean that people can do exactly what they want, but the main reason Blizzard, at least historically, were against the idea is that it means that every class, or every character can do everything, and there's no differentiation there. I honestly think that that's a bit of an artificial idea anyway. Like, people just want to be able to enjoy their class, and like fiddling around with UI elements, like specs and all that different stuff, it's just not fun. Now, I have seen some talk from the Blue saying that they really think the main problem is to do with action bar switching or some bullshit like that, because people want different sets of action bars. What? No, shut up, you're wrong. Triple spec would be nice, because really, you can only play one spec at a time, so it's not like every character would be the exact same. And honestly, for PvP and PvE, Every class has an optimal spec, and that's the one that most people will play, so it's not much of a difference anyway. I'm personally fine with just giving people the flexibility. I also think a nice thing would be if they tied armor in with specs. And just an idea, and this is just more a UI thing, but instead of the armor being stored in your bags for each spec, you could just store it in like a little, I think they call them collections, like just one of those UI frames you can just stick all your armor in. I think that would be really cool. So yeah, triple spec would be nice. A bit more freedom's nice, more player choice is always a good thing, and they have been harping on about flexibility for such a long time now, so I just don't think it's a bad idea. The next question is from Septarian, who says, with level 100, do you think we might get a new set of glyph slots? No, I don't, because I just think they don't want to be bloating and putting more things into characters that you kind of need to set up before you can go and do anything. What they will do is they will add more glyphs themselves, maybe for any new abilities that they do add, but I don't think they'll be adding many new abilities. I'll get onto that in the next question. But I'd say certainly they're going to add a lot more glyphs, so just little cosmetic things, aesthetic stuff. That's definitely possible. In general, I don't think they're going to be adding a great deal more mechanical complexity to the glyph system. And then the final question for today is from Balls of Tree. Okay, so the question is, what do you think about the new class changes in Warlords of Draenor? Well, I think that in terms of class changes, we don't exactly know what they are at the minute. But what I do know is that in terms of any changes or things they're making, they are more sort of augmenting our current abilities and that sort of thing, rather than giving us a whole heap of new things. So, to give you an example, when we're leveling up from level 90 to 100, we will get special, I don't know like what form they'll take, but essentially we will get buffs and augments to our current abilities. And even if it is just a flat percentage one, it will be enough to make it feel really significant. So a warrior might see 20% more execute damage, or then maybe one of your spells at a certain level could be fundamentally changed. That seems to be the main thing they're doing with classes. And they're just trying to make abilities feel more unique and interesting via augmenting them as you level up. In terms of talents, once again, it seems more like augmenting existing things. As an example, for a hunter, there's one where you have no pet, but you do a certain percentage more ranged weapon damage and things like that. So they really are just trying to give us more options to for playstyles within our class, without adding to bottom bloat and that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's essentially it for this video. I mean, we're essentially, yeah, we are actually out. Actually, no, we're not out of questions. We have one final one. It's from the real, I nearly said the real loincloth. No, the real Licariath, who says, hey, how do you feel about a new kind of teleportation class who uses melee weapons, but uses teleportation or time travel magic to bounce in and out and strike very quickly? Could be like another ranged physical DPS class that isn't a hunter. Well, it's weird, like with bows and guns it's hard for anything other than a hunter because marksmanship is a ranger, so it's hard to split that up. And honestly, this class seems more like a melee class, like it's always darting around the place, a little bit like, say, a rogue, like a magic teleportation kind of rogue. And I think it's actually a really cool idea, and honestly, I think it's probably too similar to a rogue to actually be in the game. At least from what I can gather from it, but I actually prefer that over a rogue because I think rogues are very boring in World of Warcraft, so yeah, that's cool. I also think it would be perfect if it was an ethereal. Maybe that's it, they could bring ethereals into the game and give them this new really cool teleportation class, which is all based off like bending space and time, and that would be cool, right? I'm not too sure how they put it in the game, but I actually think that it's a really cool idea in terms of a feel for a class, and that they could put in some awesome spell effects and just make it feel fantastic to play. So yeah, do I think it will happen soon? Probably not, but do I think it's something that could be absolutely ridiculously awesome? Yes, absolutely. Anyway, this is actually it for the Q&A. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the description. We are completely out, so until there is more questions for me to do, that will be it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.